the Power Bryant. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
Oh man, look at that. The hat game is elite. Love to see it.
I'm ready for this week.
You should be.
I'm itching. I'm ready to go. Lock the doors. It's time to go. You're a playoff contender. Go act like it.
Blake, I am as well ready to go. It does not help that South Carolina and USC look like absolute ass this past weekend. But what I would also tell you is this is the beauty of the transfer portal era. All these teams, these bottom tier SEC teams, they all have good players now. And honestly, Blake, this will come off as a major, major level of disrespect. But Ole Miss was one of these bottom tier teams not too long ago, right? And
well, yes.
Yeah, but they don't recruit like the top tier teams. And you take a look at their defense because of the portal and because of some good coaching. Their blue chip ratio is right up there with LSU's, if not higher, based on the 4 and 5 stars that they have on their defense right now. So the portal has raised the bottom of the SEC, and it's made the sport more exciting.
I'm going to push back on one thing about that. You ready? 2007.
Okay.
I mean, we got beat by the national champion got beat by two teams that they had no business getting beat by in the normal way of things. So here's my God's honest opinion. I think it's an excuse. I think we're trying to find a reason for a 2007 in today's society.
Oh, so you think it's just random?
I think about every decade or every decade and a half, this happens. And you know what historically when it happens, ironically, realignment.
Oh, so you think things
Well, think about it. 2007, 2012, and now. Okay.
Okay.
What did all three of those things happen? Big shifts in alignment in conferences. So I think that every time that there's massive shifts, this happens. You can't ignore 07. You can't ignore Carter. Missouri was in the SEC championship game in 2012.
Oh yeah, no, but
let's not act as if like these things didn't exist. Now the top was still the top, but let's not act, bro. Ohio State was getting beat by Purdue and then not getting into a playoff. Like every time that you have these things happening and going on, these kinds of situations happen, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, but Vanderbilt beat Alabama, Blake. Vanderbilt.
Well, the last time that realignment happened, and I get that it's Bama, okay, but it's not Saban's Bama. And I will remind you the last time the SEC had realignment, there was a guy by the name of James Franklin at Vandy that went 9-3. Actually, they went 10-3.
Yeah, he had two 9-win seasons.
He had two 9-win seasons at Vandy. So again, every time we want to look at look at Vandy. And I'm thinking, well, we saw this the last time realignment happened with James Franklin.
Yeah, I now that you're making me rethink this, sure. But I really do think it's the portal. And I also think one thing that is a little bit understated, especially from Arkansas's vantage point, these COVID year guys, these year 6 guys are adults. I mean, Arkansas's got a lot of year 6 guys. And, you're oftentimes you're going up against year 2, year 3 guys. I mean, that's a massive, massive, massive difference. And look, I also wanted to just show some love to Vandy, man. Goodness gracious. That made my whole weekend. I'm sorry. I love seeing Alabama lose. It's crazy.
I do too.
I've never seen players melt down quite like that either. And
LSU had a guard that, like, after the play, like, almost killed a man.
Yeah, what you're talking about?
Okay, I don't want to say that we have not seen something like that before.
No. Like you've seen stuff like this, but I'll also say this. One stat that blew my mind. Okay, Blake, I was floored.
42 minutes of time of possession for Vandy.
Okay, no, but actually a deeper story, and this is something I brought up last night on my stream. LSU was the last time a home team beat Alabama, and they did not rush the field all the way back in 2010. So the last 8 times Bama has been beaten on the road, the teams have rushed the field, according to Michael Casagrande, the beat reporter. The Ruben Randall game where he had a really long touchdown in 2010. So I think LSU over the next couple of weeks. Let me ask you this. Honest question for the chat. If LSU beats Ole Miss this weekend, do the fans rush the field?
No.
You don't think so?
Why would you?
I mean, I wouldn't, but
if they rush the field, we're gonna look Rudy Poo. Don't rush the field.
I'll tell you this. If Arkansas beats LSU, they're going to rush.
Oh, well, of course. But that's not going to happen because Taylor Green's going to be out. We'll get to that next week. All right. Let's get to this Ole Miss game. Carter, when you look at Ole Miss and LSU in this matchup, how do you see it going down?
Yeah, so let's start with defensively for LSU. Brian Kelly talked about, the chaotic nature of the game last year. That was still, for any SEC team I've ever seen. I'm not just talking LSU, Blake. I'm just talking everything. That was the worst tackling performance. I'm not sure if we'll ever see a worse one than what LSU did in that game last year, and it cost them the game. It's just that simple. You look at how LSU scored plays. They really did more phenomenal, like dropping a bucket, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors kind of plays, where Ole Miss made a lot of those kind of plays as well, Blake, but it made matters worse when you could not simply bring guys down. So a big thing for me, Blake, we know that Ole Miss is going to break off long freaking plays. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. Lane's going to do it. We know what LSU's personnel looks like defensively. What you cannot do is let them score touchdowns. You have to force this team to execute in the red zone, right? Take a look at the Kentucky game, right? When they forced Ole Miss to have to execute in the red zone, they made mistakes. But as you know, Blake, from watching that game on your SEC channel, congrats on that. They had a fourth down conversion where Trey Harris was able to score like a 40-yard touchdown. So one thing, as an LSU fan, if they break off a long run, a major difference is tackling them at the 10 or at the 5 or 15 or whatever, instead of allowing them to score, right? The Ulysses Bentley play comes back to mind. Some of those Trey Harris plays, a blown coverage on a Wade play. You cannot give them these walk-in touchdowns. If you force them to execute in the red zone, that could save you 4 points instead of a full 7, and that could very well be the difference.
I just think it's a completely different team, though. A completely different system. And Carter, I got to be real with you. They've had issues running the football. I mean, look, I know the score was what it was against South Carolina. It's a big win. It's a better win than what LSU had against South Carolina. But think about it like this. Carter, outside of the 3 turnovers that South Carolina gave them on their side of the field, let's just be real. They got 7 points offensively after that because they had a turnover on downs on a fake punt. You had a fumble by Robbie Ashford, and then you had another turnover on downs where Lenore Sellers completely ignored the wide open guy in front of his face, and he gets sacked on a 4th and 2. I mean, Carter, that's all that they did in the first half. That's how they built a lead. Outside of that, they don't score. Look, I'm going to be real with you. I know that LSU's defense is not as good as maybe Kentucky's or even South Carolina's for what it's worth. However, those offenses were also dookie. Okay, they were bad. And Carter, they couldn't, with all the possessions that they had, outside of those turnovers being generated, Carter, they're struggling to get to the 50. They're legitimately struggling. Why? Because outside of Trey Harris, I mean, Carter, I don't know if you listened to Lane today. He's probably not going to go.
Yeah, that was, I mean, they have force-fed him.
He didn't play in the end of the first half, and he didn't play in the entire second half. Juice Wells was the only guy that they were really going at. Listen now, all right, y'all going to keep saying this. Look, Lane Kiffin can scheme you up, and this defense can look bad. We all know that that's a situation. I can't also ignore that the last 2 weeks when they've needed touchdowns outside of the opening drive against Kentucky, Carter, they have looked bad. They have looked bad at running the football.
No, I'm with you on that. They've obviously lacked some talent there. The Logan Diggs acquisition is really blown up in their face.
Well, he's got a torn ACL.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the injury.
Well, he's going to redshirt and he's going to be back next year. That's why they took him.
Yeah. So I will also say this. Okay. Juice Wells did fumble at the 1, though. So, I mean, that was a lucky play.
I'm not going to play this hypothetical game with you because here's the God's honest truth. But he did. Okay, like even and look, hold on now.
You expect him to fumble at the 1 every single time?
Turnovers are turnovers.
But you can't rely on them.
Auburn didn't correct. Okay, has Auburn corrected theirs? Has Auburn corrected anything that they're doing offensively? Okay,
well, that's Auburn. I mean, that's
okay. But what I'm saying is that that's a trend.
You're talking about Peyton Thorne versus like an actual good quarterback here.
Carter, I don't know if you know this, but Auburn's a top 25 total offense. They're 132nd in turnovers, but the truth is that they move the football on them.
But Auburn's only like that because they put 70 up on Alabama A&M, and then they put up a big total. And when you adjust that for Power 5, they're not as good as that offensively. Let me ask you this: are you skeptical of this Ole Miss offense? Are you?
Yes, highly.
So you think they're a lot more overvalued, and you're talking yourself into LSU having this bye week to prepare, home crowd stadium. We saw what that did for Arkansas this past week. We saw what that did for Vanderbilt. So you're a little bit more bullish on LSU defensively versus Ole Miss.
Well, here's what I think. Okay, LSU was 115th in total defense last year, and now they're in the top 50s. And everybody's like, oh, there's not a dramatic change. Carter, you gave up 20 points the last 2 times that you played. If I would have told you at any point last year that would happen, you would jizz your pants. And I'm going to have to cut that out. But you would have jizzed your pants if that would have happened.
Why do you got to cut that? Wait, why do you got to cut that out?
I don't. Well,
no, use that in. I mean, we can't.
That's what she said. But all I'm saying is, okay. all I am saying is that you're going to have to show me, okay, that they're going to. I think last year is last year. That's not this same team. Carter, we're not going to sit back and be passive. We're just not.
Let me ask you this. Is Ole Miss the best offense LSU has played up to this point?
Probably. I'm going to be real with you, though. I think that USC, it might be a little bit better because of the weaponry.
Yeah, I can hear USC being better.
I mean, like, and so that's my point of, Carter, think about that game. So I mean, you look at USC.
I did not know going into the segment that you would be talking me into this LSU defense playing.
Carter, they're going to give up. They're going to give up yards and they're going to give up points. The reason I'm bullish in them is because I have a different expectation for them. If they give up 20 points, LSU should win this football game. So getting football to me, and I'll tell you why. Because if the offense is as good as and Garrett Nussmeier is as good as everybody is painting him out to be for me, okay, well then if you hold them under 20 points, you should win 34-20.
Yeah, I'll say this: the Trey Harris injury news is big, right? It's just big. I mean, it's Juice Wells hasn't, and yeah, he did fumble at the 1, but he's not been as good as everyone thought he was going to be going into the season. I will also say this. I put Trey Harris on like the Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors level of a talent. I mean, he's really been that good for them. And if he can't go, it's going to be a problem, right? It's going to be a lot more pre-scoring. They're tight end. It's going to be a lot more screens and trying to find things open. And what I'll also tell you, Blake, is Jackson Dart's Kentucky game was bad. It was bad.
And what did they do? They didn't even attempt to go to Juice Wells. Juice Wells got 1 target.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously Dart looked better versus South Carolina, but he's, I was asked this on my SEC show a little bit earlier, who's exceeded expectations this year, and Dart is definitely someone who's underperformed expectations up to this point. I mean,
well, I don't want to put it all on him because they haven't been effectively in running the football. Carter, think about this. Last week on a team that you were able to run on, okay, They didn't have Henry Parrish had 21 carries for 61 yards. Outside of the dart scrambles, Carter, they don't have anybody the last 2 weeks that has over 4 yards a carry.
Yeah, they have the walk-on Matt Jones, who is just a guy basically. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm also one thing that does excite me defensively from LSU's vantage point. I understand it was just South Alabama, but that was the best linebacker game LSU has had in a while. From Greg Penn and Whit Weeks.
And because you get to play a real defense without a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah. And look,
and I'm not trying to call Perkins a square peg, but there comes up. Carter, if I would have told you that going into the Ole Miss game, that LSU would have jumped 75 spots from where they were statistically a year ago than where they were this part last year, you would have taken it. And I again, are they good? Are they elite? No, I'm not going to put them there. But people are really going to have to start telling me about how them only giving up a little bit more than 100 yards rushing the last 2 weeks. I mean, Carter, UCLA ran on Oregon. They were, I know the points weren't there, but effectively they moved the football more on Oregon than they did you. I mean, like there comes a point where I'm like, huh?
Yeah, but and one more thing on Dart. I'm not saying Dart's bad, and I don't want anyone to say that I'm not saying that he's not someone that NFL teams are interested in, but I've just not really seen the step up like we've seen from some other quarterbacks. I'm also excited, Adrian saying throw at Trey Amos. Let me ask you this.
All right, this is going to be the last one before I let you go, but we'll get to the super chat here. It's Adrian Bailey, throw at Amos. He plays aggressive. This is what I said about him. I think that you can attack Amos. I'm not saying you can't complete things on him. Carter, they've used 5 other guys at the opposite boundary corner of Trey Amos, and everybody's attacked him. The problem has been, okay, Vandergriff can't do what Nuss can do.
Yes.
Others can't do what Nuss can do.
Yes.
I'm not saying stay away from Trey Amos. What I'm saying is that they believe that they have such a bad issue at the other boundary that is where they've used 5 different guys to try to fix it.
Yeah, one thing that's really hurt Ole Miss is Garrett Nussmeier is such a different level of thrower. Right. Vanderbilt's not a great thrower, and Sellers is just not where he needs to be as a thrower either. And Garrett's an elite thrower. And one area where Ole Miss is really good is pass rush. LSU's pass protection is fine up to this point, and Garrett's pressure to sack ratio numbers are really freaking good.
And it's not like that we don't have a sample size of them going up against Walter Nolan and Princely Human Yellen either.
Yeah.
Because they played them both last year.
Yeah. One guy to keep an eye out for, and this was a guy who really wrecked LSU's game plan a few years ago, was Chris Paul, their linebacker transfer from number 11. Very interesting blitzer. LSU also very familiar with him. That guy's been solid.
Ryan Kelly brought him up today.
Yeah,
so he's a defensive player.
Yeah, he's been really, really, really solid, and we just could not block him in that 2020. He was a big reason why we just couldn't get going offensively. But Blake, I'll be honest, I do like LSU's offensive matchup versus this defense. I do, because they've just not played a single thrower up to this point like Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, not many people could throw as good as Garrett Nussmeier, but I like Nuss's matchup here, especially with an extra week to prepare. So I'm really excited to see him go for it.
We'll see, man. I'm telling you. Look now, I'm not last thing I'll let you go. I swear to God.
No, bring it. I'm fine.
I think that this is the program defining game for Brian Kelly. Where are you? Are you a middle of the pack SEC program, or are you going to be a contender going into next week against Arkansas, then that week after A&M? Carter, there's a strong path that if they go 3-0 here, you're staring at playoff berth in the face.
Yeah, I will tell you, if they go 3-0 here, this will be as impressive of a 3-game stretch you will see. And I know none of these teams are top 5 teams. It's just how things square off here.
I agree, and A&M is a physical team, but Carter, you are better. I think you have the better staffs against all 3. I think you have the better talent. I think you have the best quarterback in all of them because Taylor Green's not going to be there. I mean, and that's just the truth.
He's banged up.
He's got an MCL sprain. He's out.
Yeah. Man, I'll save this for next week. There is a crazy Brian Kelly stat that I shared.
9-1 on after bye weeks.
Well, no, it's actually, I won't get into it because it takes a long time explaining it.
Okay.
I did it on the live stream, but I'll explain it on your show next week. If you want to see that stat, you can go to my channel and all that stuff.
Power Hour LSU is where you can find him.
But one final thing, let me ask you. You got on me for my Connor Wigman opinion, and this guy looks amazing. Once again, 1 game sample.
How many touchdowns did he throw? How many touchdowns did he account for?
A lot. He drove him up and down the field.
No, he didn't. He had 0. He had 0 and 0.
Yeah.
By the way, he had multiple throws that Noah Thomas bailed him out of. You better go back and watch it.
No, I watched all of them.
Okay.
He was amazing. He
all
looked
right.
good.
Carter the Power Bryant. We'll talk about kind of what.
You're telling me he did not. Did Noah Thomas make a few plays after the catch? Sure. Did he throw?
Carter, he threw an interception and Noah Thomas ripped it away from somebody.
That was a jump ball.
All right, I got to go. Ruffino and Joe show at 6. I will see you next week, good sir. Hey, Saints or Kansas City tonight?
Oh, Saints roll.